Hello there, and welcome to A Life True to You, a channel dedicated to helping high achievers come back home to themselves after years abandoning themselves in order to be who they thought they needed to be to feel worthy, valuable, and enough. Talk a lot on this channel about those pursuits. And today, I wanted to talk about something very much in alignment with that, which is the concept of becoming nobody. In our society, we talk a lot about who we want to become, oftentimes focus on things that bring us external validation, some sort of title that might bring us into a sense of power and feel like we've made it, feel like we are somebody. However, oftentimes in the pursuit of becoming somebody from societal standpoints, we actually abandon parts of who we are, leading us to feel more and more empty and leading us to be more and more out of alignment from our authentic self. So there's a documentary that's featuring Ram Dass, and it's called Becoming Nobody. I love this concept. In becoming nobody, I want to separate it from the becoming a nobody because I've had shame-based thoughts. I have a lot of internalized shame where I think I'm nobody, I'm worthless, I'm not enough, I don't belong, and that can spiral me into deep depths of despair. So if that's you, there's more content on this channel to support with toxic shame. And this message is to reinforce that shame lies and that you matter, you are worthy, you are valuable, you are enough exactly as you are. And this pursuit to become somebody by societal standpoints is actually driving you further and further away from truly believing that, with a high cost to our mind, body, and soul, and the people that we surround ourselves with. Because when we're living out of alignment with who we are, we often fit into places where we're not truly seen, where we don't feel that true sense of belonging. We're not honoring our authentic strengths and gifts. It's very exhausting. So, what could it look like in your life to strive to become nobody? Meaning to detach yourself from the striving for superficial metrics or a superficial appearance of becoming a somebody, from standards that don't align with your own values and your own authentic self. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your reflections in the comments as we explore this. If you've watched the documentary, I'd also love to hear your takeaways. In the documentary, Jamie Cato, I think is how you pronounce his name, talks about masking and how oftentimes we mask and we hide parts of who we are in order to get other people to like us, in order to fit in. But the people that we actually are attracting or the places we're trying to fit in aren't actually the people who respect and value us for a true authentic self. So we're trying to please the people who we don't actually want to please. And it offers ourselves the message that those parts of us are to be discarded or less valuable or to be hidden. Now, we'll have more videos on masking and the impacts of that. And sometimes it's necessary in order to be safe. To sustain yourself in a job, there are times where unmasking and being your full authentic self may not feel appropriate. There is a role for masking, and it has consequences on the mind, body, and spirit if we spend too much time utilizing that tool and hiding parts of who we are. So, what could it feel like to really honor your full self, to reclaim the parts of yourself that you thought were less worthy, less valuable, things to be ashamed of and to be hidden, and to be able to express those in a place where you feel loved, valued, and accepted for all parts of you? The first career that I had was to become an Air Force oral surgeon. The aspects of myself that I felt I needed to hide were my truly sensitive, very highly sensitive self. I just became a highly sensitive surgical resident, and I was told that I should continue in surgery because we needed more like me. However, there were aspects of trying to fit into that culture that just didn't align with where I was at that time, and I felt it. It led me to deep despair in my mind and my body and my soul as I tried harder and harder in order to fit in and be who I thought I needed to be in order to fit that image. So how may you be abandoning parts of who you are or masking in your life? How may it be serving you? And what is the cost? In the documentary, Becoming Nobody, Jamie Cato says, when we unmask, we can be a walking permission slip for other people to unmask as well. I hope in being my full self, my full imperfect self here on YouTube, on social media, in real life, you may receive that permission slip. It usually comes from yourself, but I hope I might be that walking permission slip, an invitation for you to embrace your true authentic self as well, knowing I'm here to be compassionate, curious, non-judgmental, and accept you for who you are, and to remind you that you matter, you are worthy, you are lovable, you are enough. And I do not need your CV, nor want your CV to know that. Another part of the documentary I really like was when Ram Dass talks about being on different channels, the lens of which we're looking at the world. He talks about when we're judging ourselves and others, we can be on a channel that's focused on the body. And this is January when I'm recording this. So oftentimes people are focused on changing their body in some way. As someone who's had a long journey with anorexia, I've often had body image distress, body dysmorphia, and being online can be challenging. And anytime I go to put these out, anytime I film them, anytime I edit them, in order to overcome that, I have to give myself self-compassion and trust that the message that I have to share is more important than how I feel about my appearance. And I notice that if I'm very body focused, just like Ram Dass talks about, then I observe more of the body differences in the people around me. He said the next channel is the psychosocial channel. It's the therapy channel is what he called it. And if I'm focused on my mind, on my mental wellness, I might be looking around and considering how other people are doing with their own mental wellness and their socialization and their support systems. He talked about the next channel being a channel that not many of us spend our time on, which is the spiritual channel. I love this channel, and I'm currently working very intentionally to spend more time on it. When we're on the spiritual channel, we can see our similarities and connect through knowing that we are souls living a human experience. At least that's what I adopt. That is the philosophy I believe. And so if we're looking at each other now, I'm seeing that soul that's within the body. And Ram Dass asks, I wonder how you got into that, referring to the soul being in that specific body at this time point in life. So as you explore that concept of being on different channels and observing how that impacts the way that you're judging yourself or thinking about yourself and what you're observing in others, what comes up for you? What channel do you think you spend the most time on? Do you like the content that you're tuning into, or is it time to change that channel? This YouTube channel is going to have a diverse amount of content that comes from the different channels that I've been on in my own life. And it will have more and more spiritual content, as that is, as I mentioned, the channel that I am choosing to spend more time on this year. So going back to the original concept of becoming nobody, what do you think of that idea? What comes up for you? How much time and energy have you put into becoming somebody from the viewpoint of society? How has that served you? What has been the cost? Are you interested in reclaiming all parts of you and honoring the parts that might have been hidden for fear that maybe they made you less worthy, valuable, or showed our human imperfections? What could it look like to bring those parts back into your life at a time where it feels safe and supported to do so? I'm super enthusiastic about embracing this idea of becoming nobody, of detaching from any expectations from outcomes, to tuning in to my heart and my soul, and connecting with you on the spiritual channel, seeing our similarities, continuing to remind you that you matter. You are lovable. You are enough. All of you, just the way you are. And I don't need your CV to know that.